Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I bow to Lord Vasudeva. I bow to him in my Guru, and I bow to him in you. You know, when people touch my feet, being a Swami here in India, I always feel they're blessing me. God is blessing God. Lahiri Mahashaya, who was a great master, didn't like people to touch his feet because he said, God is in you also. And I never feel that I'm talking down to people. And if I talk, it is to that self in you, which is seeking something that everybody wants to help others according to how he has suffered. And so doctors help people probably because they have suffered physically. And psychiatrists try to help people because probably they have suffered mentally. And I suffered so much trying to find what life is all about. All my life I was thinking, what is truth? What is truth? But when I found my Guru and when I understood, and when I saw how perfect sense this makes, I thought, I want to help everyone to know this truth. This is what I'm teaching for. Not only because my Guru told me to do it, but because I have a deep longing to bring people to that bliss which everybody is seeking. And you go through the streets of the cities and you see so many sad faces, and you see so many people angry with life and so many people disappointed with life. And they say, why is God so cruel, and why does God give so much punishment to people and so on? Don't you know it's because you aren't living according to the law. He set up a law, karma, in order simply to teach us by trial and error. And even though we may not remember that last life we did something wrong and therefore this time we should get it right, it goes into the subconscious and deeper than the subconscious. And there are certain things that you simply wouldn't do, not because your parents told you not to, not because society told you not to, but because you know in yourself. You no doubt had that experience before. You tried to find happiness through things, and then you discovered, no, I wasn't finding happiness through things. Bit by bit, you come to understand that the goal of life is to find that happiness. I remember mentioning this to the mother of a friend of mine in college, and she thought I was very frivolous. There's nothing frivolous in discovering who you really are. This is everybody's goal, and they try to make it very serious and have long faces about it. There was one man I met in San Francisco. Montgomery Street is like sort of the Wall Street of San Francisco. And he said, and I work on Montgomery Street. And then he paused and he saw that I didn't gasp with amazement and respect and awe. And he said, and of course, you know what that means. Well, yes, I did. It meant to me that the poor pompous ass was not finding happiness. And he needed to think he was happy by having me be in awe of him. Well, that's ridiculous. I'd rather be a beggar than have money and make it do that to me. There's a story I would like to read in my book of his sayings called Conversations with Yogananda. It is saying number 199. A wealthy man, this is quoting Master, a wealthy man came here to Mount Washington and stayed for a time. Our work at that time was in dire financial straits, and he might easily have saved the situation for us. But he wanted concessions from me that, on my conscience, I would not make, for they were unprincipled. He left, and when he did so, he said to me, you'll starve because you didn't listen. To him, listen meant my consent to his disgraceful proposal. Well, we survived. God alone always is our stocks and bonds. In fact, one time somebody said to him very superciliously in the early years there, what are the assets of this organization? Master said, none, only God. That's how he lived. You know, many years ago, I was here in India. I came here in 58. And in 59, I was lecturing in India, in Delhi. And many people came. I had thousands of people. And I felt that here is where I can really serve my Guru, because people want what I have to give. And so I decided to do something here, but everybody told me it's just out of the question. Everything is decided by the government. You can't get land, private land here, for hospitals, industries, all sorts of things, schools, universities, everything else has priorities. Even private homes have priority over ashrams, because people thought at that time, Nehru himself thought that India, it has a surfeit of ashrams. I didn't know what to do. I went out to the outskirts of Delhi, which at that time was Qutub Minar, and people showed me all those fields and meadows and just empty land. And they said, across the horizon is a little village called Gurgaon. And I thought, well, this is much too far. Very few people had cars in those days. Most people had to go by bus, and to come all the way even to the outskirts of the city meant quite a bit of walking if we got anything beyond that. So I didn't know what to do, and I said, by my will, I will make it happen. And I determined that I would get land in the Greenbelt area, and since I couldn't get land in the Greenbelt area anyway, I decided to get land near Birla Mandir. Birla Mandir, of course, is fairly close to the center of the city. The Greenbelt sort of makes a curve in there. And I decided I wanted 25 acres. Well, everybody said I was an absolute madman to have such a thought. And I remember Mr. Ratti, who is the finance minister for Delhi State, was the man who told me that it was just laughably impossible. Well, finally I reached the point where Nehru himself, I was able to meet him, and he agreed to my proposal. My organization was so outraged that I would take such chances. They thought that, first of all, I was crazy, and secondly, they could never control me, and so they threw me out. It was really the greatest blessing that happened to me ever, because it freed me to serve my Guru in the way that he had told me I should do. Well, anyway, during that period, across Mandir Lane, where I wanted the land, many of you know that, across from that there was, and perhaps still is, a yoga ashram. And a wealthy man said to me, I have looked at the bylaws of that ashram, Swamiji, and I can get it for you. I will just, its bylaws say that a majority of people determine who runs it. And I will simply buy up enough memberships and then give the ashram to you, and you can have it. I said, I will never take it on such unscrupulous terms. I don't want it. He couldn't believe. He was a real banya, merchant plus, you might say. And so he couldn't believe that I would reject such an offer. So he bought up these memberships, and one day he came to me and told me, Swamiji, the ashram is yours. I said, I don't want it. I told you I don't want it. Take it away. I want nothing to do with it. It was an unprincipled thing. Here other people were running it perfectly happily, and he was going to get them thrown out and me put in charge. I wouldn't dream of taking it on those terms. Well, this is the sort of abiding by the truth that my Guru told me, that we must always follow what is principled, even though it looks as if this shortcut will give us what we want. Like that man had lots of money, he could have done all sorts of things, but it wasn't the right principle. Like this man, it wasn't the right principle. If I was to get it, I wanted to get it honestly and not hurt anyone. Many people are willing to hurt others. They will lose. I have suffered enough in past lives to know that they will lose. I must have experienced this many times, because not only did my Guru teach me this, and I sort of took down notes, well, I guess, no, I just felt it inwardly. What other people suffer because of you, you suffer in the end yourself. And so, anything that you do, Remember the words, the Sanskrit slogan. I first saw it on the palace of the Maharaja of Kuch Behar. Jata dharma tata jaya, which in Sanskrit is yata dharma tata jaya. Where there is dharma, there is victory. And in your work, people have said to me, well, how can I succeed in business if I don't sometimes, cut the corners a little bit, tell a few untruths? Well, yes, you may get away with it once, you may get away with it 100 times, but sooner or later, things will begin to turn against you. If you don't tell the truth won't support you. But if you stick by the truth, no matter what, people may treat you badly. People certainly have tried to treat me badly. I speak from experience. The very people who threw me out did their best later on to destroy me. But I always believed that if I stick by truth as I understand it, I'm not going to play this game of manipulation and trying to get even with them by revenge or anything. Why? If you live by truth, God Himself will help you. And when I was thrown out, I had nothing. I had a well-to-do father, yes, but he never gave a dime to this work because he didn't believe in it. He thought I was crazy to become a yogi in the first place. He never helped me and never gave a paisa, I could say. And yet I found that by doing what I had to do, doing it in the right way, doing it in a way that would not hurt anybody, finally things began to go my way. And it's a strange thing, but to succeed in life, you need people to follow you, usually, certainly for the kind of work that I do. But to get people to follow you, you have to be a success already. It was just one of those catch-22s, as we say in America. It was a dilemma around which I did not know how to work, but I said it doesn't matter. I will abide by what I believe. And people would say, well, you'll fail. You're bound to fail. Nobody's ever succeeded. I wanted to start a community that said people have started communities forever. None of them have succeeded. I said, it doesn't matter if I fail or succeed. I don't care. Yes, of course I care, but I'm willing to accept failure rather than do something wrong. I know that even in trying, God will give me some blessing. And it has turned out that out of thousands of communities that were started back in the 60s, just about alone, Ananda has succeeded. And gloriously, too. We're famous through the world now. We have 7 communities, about 1,000 people live in them, and I want very much to start communities here in India. I want people to understand that if they live with others who are also devotees, as it says in the Shastras, satsang is the most important thing of all. When you can mix with others who have spiritual beliefs also, then that helps to give you strength to go on in our community. Everybody in life goes through ups and downs, you can't help it. But when one person is down, all his friends are there helping him. They're not saying, I told you so, which is what worldly people would do. Another reason for a community is that if you have all these people who believe together, working together, you've got much more power. There's an old sort of folk tale of a man who had 6 sons, and he asked them when he was lying on his deathbed to bring 6 sticks. And he asked the strongest of them to take those 6 sticks and try to break them together. He wasn't able to. Then he said, give me one of those sticks. And here he was on his deathbed. 1 stick he could break easily. He said, remember, my sons, stick together. If you stick together, you will be strong. If you work separately, you won't have that strength. You will find that when you can be with others, you can have a strength that by yourself you could not have. A community of people who work together lovingly, supporting each other, that is what our communities are. It's not a hotbed of rivalries and competition and anger and fighting and quarreling. No. It's amazing, and people have come from around the world and just said, well, what is it you people have? Well, among other things, they have a true guru. Our guru is their guru. I don't speak of myself as anybody's guru, but I am a loyal disciple, and I do try to be a true channel of his love, forgiveness, acceptance of all, and desire to help everybody without looking down on anyone. Thus it is, I said recently in one of these talks, that people who are in charge of businesses or communities or whatever, they often earn less money than people who underneath them who need more money because they have children. They have families to support. They have debts to pay off. Because of this real spirit of faith in God and understanding that this is the purpose of life, we aren't here to become powerful or important or to rival each other. And Ananda is, I call it Ananda because you can't get Americans to say Ananda. It's just enough to get them to say, at least not to say Ananda. But in fact, at Ananda, there is this feeling of team play. We don't push ourselves. We don't make we're the worst thing. Probably our greatest weakness is promotion. But somehow many people in the world know about us because we are successful against all odds. I do urge you to think about that. Get together with others, and if you would like to come under our work, I'd say fine, because we have proved that it can work in a scene where many people have failed, because many people put things above people. We have two principles. One is what I just said, yata dharma tata jaya. The other is people are more important than things. I don't mean people's desires. I don't mean people's opinions. I mean people's welfare. Sometimes what is good for them is not what they like, but we stick to what is right for them, not what they want. And they have come to honor that, and those who don't, they've flown away. But remember, in the song that we're going to sing, when human hopes toward thee aspire, dark woods of grief are set afire. When you aspire toward God, and when you have a little touch of his bliss in yourself, you find that things don't matter anymore, that you feel a happiness even in very trying circumstances. And yes, I've seen people go through lots of these things. My guru went through it. I've been through it. Many of our people have had to go through it. Our whole community has had to go through it. When we lost most of our property and most of our homes, we just rebuilt again with the joy in our hearts. That joy, if you can keep that Satchidanandam, just that little touch of it in your heart, when your hopes aspire to God, all your woods of grief will be burned away. Joy to you.
When human hopes toward thee aspire, dark woods of grief are set afire, beyond all reach of